Dakota News Now presents the Trusted Choice 2023 Pigskin Preview.
Welcome to our Pigskin Preview show for 2023. I'm Mark Ovenden along with Zach Borg, and over the next half an hour, we're going to preview the upcoming season in high school football.
And it's hard to believe, but that season kicks off with a handful of games tomorrow night and then gets really busy, especially for us, with our first Football Friday. Now, our Pigskin Preview Magazine is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and for the 12 kids on the front cover this fall, it was an extra special honor.
I was in shock. I was like, there's no way, because I know that's a big thing, and I know he wanted me to be on there.
If there's one thing that links every Pigskin Preview cover kid through the years, it's their first reaction to learning they've been tabbed as one of the best players in our region.
Glad to be considered one of the guys that they want to be on here, so yeah, a huge honor.
At some schools, it's an old teammate or even a rival that inspires.
I did last year, kind of thinking before the season, kind of hoping I might have a shot because I saw Kellen on there from Pipestone, so I knew he was a pretty good player and see if maybe I got a shot.
With the magazine reaching 25 years old, it's also becoming a family heirloom for those like the Zabels and Pierre. Jett joining his older brothers, Peyton and Gray, as cover kids.
No, they didn't really say anything, but when I said to them, they were kind of like, yeah, well, if you didn't make it, we would give you some crap, but that's about it, though. It's just a cool experience to be on here and just kind of reliving that legacy with him. It's fun.
Our most famous cover kids like Chad Greenway are a standard to aspire to.
Some big names are on there, and it's pretty special, to be honest.
1, 2, 3.
While others wonder what the future will hold for them in 25 years when their own children will look at their photos.
I got a haircut like a week ago, so I don't think they can make fun of my hair because it was super long. So now I can just show them, and then they'll be like, hey, he's a normal guy.
I guess I don't know. I mean, we're gonna have to see when we get there, but I hope they're proud. I guess to be around here with these guys and chop it up with them and talk about them, about the upcoming season and how they're doing, and meeting a lot of them. So it's fun in that sense, and then also kind of looking into the magazine about the upcoming year and getting excited for football season.
All I can say is enjoy that hair while you got it, guys, because I used to have curly hair too. I know one team that's going to be really fun to watch this year in the 11 AAA ranks, and that's the Lincoln Patriots. They're going to score plenty of points thanks to the dynamic duo of Tate Schafer at quarterback and Jack Smith at wide receiver. Now, I always try hard not to have two players from the same school on the cover, but they're so closely connected, we had no choice. There is no better duo than Tate Schafer to Jack Smith in high school football this year. They light up the scoreboard on a regular basis, even connecting for 21 completions in a game. That is a state record. And it's that chemistry they've developed over the years that makes them even more dangerous.
Oh, it's huge. In like the back of your head when a play breaks down or anything, you kind of like, after playing so long together, like you feel out for each other and kind of know where he's going to be. And
we're really good friends. I feel like that helps. And I mean, we have a lot of trust in each other, so that helps too.
High school football is fun, especially for these two friends who have started since they were sophomores. And the coaches even trust them enough to give them input on the plays that are called.
I think that for both of us is huge going into like this year when we've already played 2 years. Like, it's not like we have to worry about anything. Like, we've seen everything in high school that we're going to see,
So they are experienced, and they also appreciate what the other brings to the field.
His ability to get out of the pocket and throw on the run, and also throw under pressure. He's really smart. He knows what he's doing, and it's a big part of it.
I think he can just do everything really well. Not much people, like at high school at least, can just do everything, and I think he does literally everything.
We're in for another treat this fall. And Schafer and Smith, they've enjoyed every play they've shared on the gridiron.
It's been really fun. I don't know, special. Got to thank him for everything he's done, so I'm just very thankful for him.
Wall will try and go back-to-back in 9AA with their star quarterback back. It's certainly a possibility. Vic Quick has more on Burk Blasius, who will be the key on how high the Eagles soar this season.
The Wall football team racked up a perfect 12-0 record last season, en route to winning the 9AA state championship, and the Eagles are now focused on repeating.
I mean, you don't see very often, especially in a small town, and it was one of the greatest experiences, and all our guys know that, and just they want that same feeling that they had when they won. I think is going to drive us to want that again. You know, it's just like when you win something, you want more of it, and that drive is just going to help us, you know, hopefully achieve what we did last year.
Burk Blasius is one of the players featured on the cover of this year's Pigskin Preview Magazine, and as he enters his senior season, the quarterback is ready to take on a big leadership role.
We feed off each other's energy, you know, so we got to make sure the mood's high. I got to be my quarterback coach, Preston Eisenbrown, says I got to be in the middle of the thermostat. I can't be way up here and I can't be low, because however I look is going to reflect on my team. So I got to make sure that I'm always keeping up, you know, a positive vibe out there and leading the team and doing the best of my ability.
Blasius threw a pair of touchdown passes in the state championship game, and while he is certainly talented athletically, Burke's mental approach is also a big key to his success.
As quarterbacks always say, you got to learn to forget, you know, that plays in the past, short memory, you know. If I miss a throw or I throw a pick, you got to pick back up. There's no reason to sit back and think, you know, there's no reason to hang your head, because the next play is going and you got to execute on that play, and the following plays as best as you can.
Blasius wants to either play football or wrestle at the collegiate level, but for now he's focused on making his senior season a memorable one.
It's a feeling that you won't get back, and just to be under them lights, and those Friday night lights, you know, are something you can't explain, you can't relive when you get older. So I got to make the best choices and the best opportunity I can while I'm able to still play. And yeah, it's a surreal feeling when you know it's game time when you put these pads on.
He ain't lying. When we come back, we'll reconnect with some of the players who were on the cover of the Pigskin Preview Magazine over the past 25 years. Stay tuned.
You're watching the Trusted Choice 2023 Pigskin Preview.
Now, in addition to our photo shoot out at Howard Wood Field, we also introduced our Pigskin Cover Kids at a special Fridays on the Plaza. And what made that extra special was inviting former cover players to join us, and it was a cool day. Eric Thorstensen takes a look back at the 25-year history of our magazine.
For 25 years, the Pigskin Preview has featured the top incoming high school seniors. Former Freeman star Brett Scherschlicht was on that first cover in 1999.
You know, you're young and you're taking a lot in. You also think you're, you know, Iron Man and all that stuff. You know, someday that'll end now, and I see that the guys we have this year are all bigger than us old guys. I don't know if we could handle that even in my heyday.
While most of the cover shoots have been at Howard Wood Field, some were shot in front of trucks, planes, rocks, on location at the Dakota Dome or Dana J. Dykow Stadium. A former Roosevelt High School star Preston Evans was part of this cover, which was shot under a bridge near downtown Sioux Falls.
I remember at the moment to get the invite to be on the cover was like the best thing, right? Like we always were waiting for that cover to come out, the magazine to come out and say who's on there, and then, hey, what's the schedule this year?
The Pigskin Preview is often the first look at the season ahead, especially in the days before social media.
You look forward to that coming out every year, every August, and especially being the first one from my school to be on it was definitely a cool experience.
While many of these players went on to have great college careers, the high school days were certainly a special time.
You know, the good old days, I say, looking back on, you know, my whole football career, just how relaxed kind of high school was, and just the freedom of it and just the love for the game.
And we'll probably see a second generation cover kid soon.
Hopefully my sons will pass along the football genes, but we'll see what happens.
Dad was on the front cover of the Pigskin Preview.
Yeah, well, someday I hope to tell them, and hopefully they're proud of their old man.
Mom was a track star at North Dakota State as well, so he's got pretty good genes, so we'll figure out how to get him on this.
As always, once we get the magazines in, our Dakota News Now sales staff drives all over the region, delivering them to sponsor businesses where you can pick them up for free. For the Pigskin Preview Show, I'm Eric Thorstensen.
Now, Thor used to predict how many wins each team would have for the coming season, and the staff too. I wasn't part of that. I would never have done that. It was bulletin board material for Viborg in 2000 when they were picked to win 3 games. They went on to go undefeated and won the Class 9B state title. Two teams that wear green and will look to defend their titles, although for the Pierre Governors, they're trying to make it 7 straight state titles. That preview is next in the 11-man race.
You're watching the Trusted Choice 2023 Pigskin Preview.
Two dominant teams from last fall, both wearing green, will try and defend their state titles despite massive losses of talent to graduation. In just the second year of the school, Jefferson rolled through everybody in 11 AAA, but graduated players like Ashley and Wilde, and Pierre will try to make it a record 7 straight 11 AA titles without Lincoln Keenholz at quarterback. And the leaders of their teams now want to keep that tradition going.
I just want to keep the tradition going. I mean, we just want to keep it going. All these little kids looked up to us, and we just want to have a good image for them to look at.
Yeah, it's a big change for sure. I mean, we probably lost 30 seniors, I'd say, and to to build on what they had come here and build for Jefferson is going to be a tough task, but we're all excited for it and ready for it.
These guys will be a key to whether or not we see teams wearing green in the Dome in November. And for Pierre, they've got a 6-year streak going. And talking about tradition in 11-man football, since the start of the playoffs, I don't think no team has made more appearances in the Dome than the Winter Warriors. They've been there 18 times and they've won 9 titles. Almost half the time they're there. And there's a reason they are always in the mix. Many of them have grown up helping on the farm, and that makes a big difference.
Yes, it does. It does. Us working on the farm, doing all that hard work out there kind of does help. But, it's a mental game sometimes, and us farm boys can be tough. So.
Yes, they can.
You bet they can.
They throw hay bales around, then they throw opposing players around when they play for Winter. Jason Andera joins us from Midco Sports. Been part of this for a long time. Is there a team with more winning tradition, and can anybody beat Winter this year? Because they're just every year.
Right, and last year I think everybody kind of expected the same thing. They did very well throughout the season and got to that championship game, and like they're used to, but they couldn't quite pull it off. Elk Point Jefferson came up there with them, but as I talked to all the coaches this year, they're pointing right back to Winter as the favorites in 11B.
They got Aidan too. He was the MVP his sophomore year.
He has been around for 4 years of varsity football, and he's definitely a leader.
Does EPJ have enough back?
A lot of people talking about EPJ is losing a lot of seniors. All those guys in the backfield won't be back, but they are really building something special there. In fact, I think they've got really good freshman sophomore class that's going to be coming up, but even this year they should be a top 5 team.
Look for McCook Central Montrose and Sioux Valley also in that class, I would
sure.
say. In 11A, this is always a tough one to pick every year. It feels like Dell Rapids might be at the top of the heap.
This one is one of the most fun classes every year, right, Mark, where you've got 6 or 7 really good contenders that could beat each other up throughout the season. Who stays the healthiest? But you're right, Dell Rapids with Mason Stubbe in the backfield, Jack Henry throwing the ball maybe a little bit more this year, a really solid defense back. But don't sleep on teams like Madison, who was down a little bit last year. They have almost everybody back. Lennox with a new quarterback coming, transferring in. They could be a tough team. Sioux Falls Christian is one of my favorite teams in this class to make a huge jump.
Canton maybe too.
Oh, for sure. Always good.
All right, 11 AA. Can Pierre go 7 straight?
Why not? They've done it with 3 different quarterbacks. People forget that before Lincoln Keenholz, 3 years before that, Peyton Zabel and Garrett Stout were getting it done in the backfield. So I think with the new quarterback this year and Cade Kaiser, somebody who's very familiar with the offense, they can get some stuff done. Do they have enough big guys up front? That's what people don't talk about as much. I think they'll be able to figure out a way to do it. They probably had a lesser team when Keenholz was a sophomore,
couple of years
and they
ago.
still got her done.
Yeah, and they still won it. Yeah, they got an athlete at quarterback this year.
You bet. Cade's definitely an athlete.
T area
is always there. They lose one of their biggest senior classes they've ever had, but once again they reload. They're becoming one of the biggest schools in that class. They're going to be really tough to beat. This might feel like the year that they could possibly get it done.
11 AAA. We already talked about the Lincoln dynamic duo, and for good reason. They're not only going to be fun to watch, they return guys that have been out there on the field almost their whole team for 3 years.
Right. There were a lot of sophomore starters 2 years ago on this team that made it to the Final Four. Now, 2 years in a row, they've been to the semifinals. They're the only contender that has a senior quarterback back. A lot of these other teams that feel like contenders, They might have a senior with not very much experience, or a junior, or a new quarterback, but you got a guy like Tate Schafer thrown to a guy like Jack Smith, amongst several other good receivers. They're going to be really tough to beat.
Harrisburg's got a great receiver in Titan Tryon. Brandon Valley's got Schunke. I don't know if he's going to play college football or college wrestling. He's such a good athlete.
I think Navarro leads maybe the best offensive line, and when Brandon Valley looks to those 5 guys, nobody under 6'4" on that offensive line, they are going to plow through teams. So that makes them a contender. Harrisburg, obviously, always a contender. Watch for O'Gorman and Jefferson, though. Those are 2 teams I think that have reloaded pretty well.
All right, great recap of that. I think it's going to be a fun fall season for sure. There are several 9-man teams that came close last year, like the Hamlin Chargers in those cool blue uniforms. They are extra motivated. We'll preview that class when we come back. Stay with us.
You're watching the Trusted Choice 2023 Pigskin Preview.
Class 9AA is often one of the toughest to pick. There are several teams that could make it all the way to the Dome, like Hamlin. Luke Fraser and his teammates charged into the semis last year where they ran into Wall and the eventual state champion Eagles. That outcome has them extra motivated this year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's definitely, you can feel it throughout the team. Like, everybody wants to get there. It's obviously the goal. It's something that we're all working toward. There's a better focus. Everyone's more in tune this year because we know, like, last year we had lost in the first round of the playoffs the year going into last season, so we didn't really know where we were. But now that we know we have a bunch of players returning, we can really push for that. It's something that all of us feel when we're in practice. You can tell we're zoned in and locked in.
And with teams like Hamlin, Howard, Parkston, Wall, and several more, this is always and once again will be a fun class to keep an eye on this fall. And keeping an eye on things with us, Jason Andera. We talk about that 9AA class always being one of the toughest to predict. If Hamlin won on jerseys alone, they'd win the state title every year.
Everybody loves the Powder Blues. That's
yeah,
for sure.
What do you think of them this year?
Yeah, this is a team that returns a bulk of their starters, like 7 starters on both sides of the ball. And, of course, with Luke Fraser running the football, things are looking up. They're going to be able to run, but they can pass the ball too. I think there's going to be 3 or maybe 4 teams in 9AA that either go undefeated or have a 1-loss team. There's some real talent at the top, and then there's some surprise teams. Look at Freeman Marion Academy, who started almost all freshmen and sophomores last year. They're going to be right in the mix of that top 5 as well.
And of course, so huge for Wall to win the title. West River last year, they've been knocking on the door so long. Howard and Parkston both have a lot coming back too.
Howard and Parkston. Howard got some new players that transferred in. They've got a veteran quarterback in the backfield. They're going to be very good. Parkston, their 2 main running backs last year, are both back for them. And don't forget about Elkton Lake Benton. They have a lot of their team back. They're just missing a real key component in Ryan Krogh.
9A, I think we talked a lot about Wynn earlier. We forget about that highway corridor. Gregory had kind of been quiet for a couple of years. They roared back last year to the Gorillas.
They are very solid once again. And Rylan Peck kind of made that team go, and in the Dome, he gave them the leadership that they needed to get all the way and get past Warner. I think with him back and some really good running backs, with Murray back and some defense that's solid, they're going to be the cream of the crop in 9A. But Warner not far behind with their 4-year starter, Hunter Kramer, under the center once again. So that'll be another team to look out for. But I think the Woolsey-Wessingtons and Castlewood, some of those familiar names, are right in the mix too.
Yeah, and of course that was the title game last year with Warner and Gregory. In 9B, it's always a little kind of tough to figure out as well. We had Hitchcock-Tulare winning it last year. Harriet Selby has been pretty good, and DeSmet's kind of lurking. Who do you see? How do you see that kind of class coming out?
I think people are giving respect to Harriet Selby area and Hitchcock-Tulare, even though they lost a lot. So they're going to be exalted at the beginning, but I think the teams that are really going to fight it out at the end might be like DeSmet. They are a very good team, very athletic. I think Corsica Stickney had a really good freshman running back last year, and sometimes that's what happens in 9B. You get those young guys who really start to mature and put on together some runs. In Faulkton area, another team I would keep an eye on in 9B.
And finally, we kind of talked about it when you did those predictions once upon a time. Somebody's looking at this and saying bulletin board material. They're not talking about us enough. Why aren't they talking about us? Who's maybe that 1 or 2 teams that we're going to be talking a lot about as the season goes along?
I think there's a lot of these young teams that really have a chance to make their mark. But I think I mentioned one already is Freeman Marion and Freeman Academy. I think they're a team that's definitely on the up and come. And I think there's some others too that could make some noise. Castlewood is one. Corsica Stickney, definitely another one that I think could be really tough toward the end of the year.
All right, well, Jason, thank you very much. It was quite a year for Central Lyon George Little Rock last season. We'll see how good they will be this fall and talk a little Minnesota football when we come back to wrap up the 2023 Pigskin Preview Show.
These guys, Central Lyon George Little Rock, rolled to a state title last fall with Zach Lutmer at the helm. Now he's gone, but they still return plenty of talent like this guy catching passes, Reece, Vander, and Graham Eben running the football, both future Hawkeyes. This team's just going to be so loaded again this year. And Reece feels very confident that this year's group is going to pick right up where last year's team left off.
I mean, it's going to be a different season, but we still got all the pieces to do it. I still believe that we're still a championship team. Yeah, we lose some, but we definitely bring back quite a bit too, and we'll reload and we'll be ready. I know that.
They were a team on a mission last year and had one of the most dominating seasons in recent memory in Iowa. And with Reece and Graham leading the way, this is really not a tough pick. They're going to be really good again this year. And again, they're both future Hawkeyes. So when you got two guys that are Division I players on your team, I don't care what happened to the rest of the team. You're still going to be good. And they've got a great coach. They've got a great program. I have a hard time not thinking they're going to be dome bound, at least, you know, for the playoffs.
Unit dome bound, obviously.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're that good, you just reload. I mean, there's kids underneath who are working their way up. They've got it really rolling there. Of course, be always one of our most fun games, the Beef Bowl with West Lyon. We know they were maybe a little down last year, but they're going to be right back up there in a pretty high level again, as will West Sioux, too. They got a big transfer. That's a couple big transfers between those schools. So,
well, Tanner Lynott is going to be starting running back at West Lyon. So you can circle that Beef Bowl. That's going to be that's going to be, you know, the bragging rights for Lyon County. It's going to be awesome. I look for West Lyon and Central Lyon George Little Rock to be teams to beat. And I think West Sioux is about a year away from being like really, really, really good again like they were. But they're a playoff game for sure. As for Minnesota, it's pretty easy to say Chad Johnson's team's going to be good.
Because they usually always are. Yeah, Minneota's been to several state championship games, won a couple. It'll be interesting to see a lot of talent in southwest Minnesota. Of course, we like certainly Pipestone and Luverne. We have one of our cover kids, Connell. Great rivalry again between those two for the Battle Axe. And Marshall, they've sneakily produced a lot of Division I players over the last couple of years. You would expect they will be there again as well in southwest Minnesota.
That Battle Axe game is on October 6th, by the way, and it's at Luverne, and they're going to have a Hall of Fame ceremony that night. Geraldine Britz and others will go in, which is kind of cool. I remember Geraldine from when I first moved here, won the U.S. Open for ladies golf.
I think it's kind of cool to see, too, how good the football in this region has gotten, because look at the state national championship teams we had last year at South Dakota State, Northwestern, and the NAIA. All of them had almost all of them were local kids. A lot of local kids played key roles who were playing just years ago in high school. So it's fun to watch, but we're watching the guys who will eventually become pretty dominant players at the college level, if anything, that we've seen over the last couple of years.
Yeah, look at that roster of the national champs last year. A lot of local kids. Murray County Central this year is going to be good. I look for Jackson County Central to be good again. And I think Hills Beaver Creek, they're a little young, but I think they're pretty talented.
Yeah, they got a great tradition rolling down there.
They do. Well, hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show. There's high school football tomorrow, and then football Friday is coming up in just a couple of days. So beware. Lots of high school football starting. Doesn't seem like it's possible, but we're ready. We hope you are too.
We'll be ready and running through the dome in November.
Thanks for watching, and have a great night.